I feel like shit.
Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days.
It's just one of those
happy days. The weekend comes, let's not go out.
It's just one of those days where you don't want to wake up. Everything is everybody sucks. You don't really know why, but you want to justify ripping someone's head off. No human contact, and if you interact, your life is on contract. Your best bet is
Just knock it off, you scum fuckhead.
it's just one of those days. It's just one of
Monday,
those.
happy days.
It's just one of
Tuesday,
those.
happy days.
It's just one of those
Happy days.
days.
The weekend comes, let's not go out. Ready to extend.
It's just one of those days, feeling like a freight train. First one to complain, please with the blood stain. Damn right, I'm a maniac. You better shoot, cause I'm fucking up your program. And if you're stuck up, you just locked up. Next in line to get fucked up. Your best bet is to stay away, motherfucker. It's just,
I'm losing my cool.
it's all
Monday,
about,
happy days.
it's just one of those,
Tuesday, happy days.
it's just one of those
Happy days.
days.
The weekend comes, let's not go out. Ready to extend. These days,
I feel like shit. My suggestion is keep the distance. Right now I'm dangerous. Right now I'm dangerous.
Something's happening to the bonds.
My day keeps going this way and this way.
I'm gonna pop you one so you'll stop playing games.
Give me something great. Give me something great. I hope you know I'm like a chainsaw. A chainsaw. A motherfucking chainsaw.
What?
So come and get it.
What we got here is a case of mistaken identity, you know? See, now this here
Not Robert.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chief Moody, and welcome to episode 96 of the Mood of the Nation podcast. How's everyone doing? I hope everyone's having a fantastic week with this heat wave we've been going as of late. Absolutely roasting all throughout this week, especially yesterday when I was at work, and today I wasn't working today. I've been given a day off, but I will be back in tomorrow, which of course brings the reason why I'm doing the show at 5 p.m. rather than say later on. In fact, speaking of which, I had a chat with Wesley last night about this whole thing, and he said, "Oh, no, completely fine streaming at 7 or whenever you want to on a Thursday." And you basically give me like the go ahead to stream whenever, which was perfect. So not today, but next week, of course, as I talked about before, going back to Monday through Friday type of work shift pattern. I'll be doing the stream around about 7 on a Thursdays, maybe slightly later on. But again, it just depends on when I get back and when all of my equipment for all of that will be up and ready for the show to begin. So that will be it. And yeah, I'm going to finally take off the aviators. I know I did say in the previous episode I was going to do that from now on, kind of like an intro type of thing. But anyway, done that. So there we go. Wow, I'm really sweating. Like it's been absolutely roasting. Speaking of which, I have my mug, or my, as you can see here, Soap Not Hate mug with Grandma Tyler's tea in the mug, which is perfect. So I got that. Now, today, if I actually, well, I don't need, I'll just keep it on just in case. Let me have a look and see who's in the chat first of all, and then we'll get started. We'll have a chat on what's going to be going on with today's episode. We have Jacob J in the chat. How you doing? Thank you very much for watching the show. We have Joe Marsh in the chat. How you doing, Joe? Speaking of Joe, the first topic we're going to be talking about is the aftermath of the I can't believe I'm forgetting the name. The protest for the Drag Queen Story Hour. So we'll be talking about that, as I have 2 articles that talk about that anyway. One is from The National, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, and one from Vice. So that's going to be really interesting. And also Joe, he's not on just yet, but he will be coming on for a bit to talk about his experience at one of these protests, or I would imagine some of these protests, and then going on from there. And that's going to be really interesting. So again, he won't be on for long. He won't be like a guest or on the show for the entirety, of course, because he's got prior engagements. So of course he would love to come on for the entirety of the show, but can't because of that. So he'll be coming on for a little bit, and again, once we've done that, then we'll move on to the next topic, which of course will be Indigenous Peoples Day of 2022, which of course will be going over that, as there have been some reactions, shall I say, from most of the anti-whites. It's more specifically in places like in Yorkshire and also, of course, up here in Scotland. I know I covered it already for what happened in Glasgow, but there was an article about what happened in Dundee, so I'll be definitely going over that. So let's have a look through the chat again and see who's else is here. So, of course, Joe will be coming on in very shortly. English Rose is in the chat. Hello, thank you very much for watching the show. Hello, everyone. Hope you all are well. Same to yourself, English Rose. Thank you very much for watching. We have Roscoe in the chat. Ethan Chief, Ethan Trips. Surely Scotland wins again with the Dundee job made most headlines. I mean, I hope so, but I don't know. I don't think Scotland might win this year, which I know that may be blasphemous from some of my Scottish viewers might watch. But as much as we've done tremendous work for Indigenous Peoples Day, I have a sneaking suspicion someone else might win this year. Not sure who it might be, but I just have that inkling. I don't know why. Maybe Yorkshire might take up the trophy this year, or maybe who else has done a lot of work for Indigenous Peoples Day? Maybe Wales. I don't know. Eastern, maybe West Midlands, I think. Again, I don't know. I really don't know. But a lot of people have done a lot of great stuff for Indigenous Peoples Day this year. So I think it's really up in the air who might win the trophy this year. So, but then again, Scotland might win again. I don't know, but you never know. So again, we just need to wait and see, really. And I think the polling for it, I don't think it'll be. I think it might be live later on. I'm not entirely too sure, or maybe tomorrow. But I'm sure Laura or Mark might post an update about that later on the official PA channels on Telegram. So you'll be able to find all the information there. So again, don't take my word as gossip or anything like that at all, but it's just only from what I've heard as of late. So anyway, who else is with us? Let's have a look and see. Of course, Gamma Sandwich is with us. How you doing? Thank you very much for watching the show. Rory Herbert is in the chat with us. How you doing? Thank you very much for watching the show. Hasdak is in the chat as well. Thank you very much for watching. Bram Al is with us. How you doing? Thank you very much for watching the show. Amanda Lee is with us. How you doing, Amanda? Thank you very much for watching the show. Earl of Stair is with us. How you doing? Thank you very much for watching the show. Let me see. Ragnar Iron Spear is with us. Evening, Chief Moody. Good evening to you too, Ragnar. Thank you very much for watching the show. Roy Herbert, my money's on Yorkshire. I mean, I can see why you would say PA Yorkshire, especially with the recent stunt at I mean, I know it's been covered on an article. I can't get the name of the place where they did it, but it was that I've watched the video on for that was featured on PWR. I think even on Tea Time with Sam and Laura. That looked very well organized. I mean, it's actually it's just that takes a lot of skill and a lot of balls to do something like that. So yeah, I definitely would commend them on that, like a tip of the hat, if you will, type of idea. Let me see. I've got in my hands and feet. Gamma Sandwich is just responding to Gamma Sandwich. No worries at all. Right then, let me just have a quick sip of my Grandma Tyler's tea, and we'll get right started. Also, folks, for those who are watching right now, I think it's changing from 13 to 14 people, but hopefully more people watch the show, but we'll definitely wait and see with that. In the description down below, as I mentioned before, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Also, subscribe to my Odysee. In fact, speaking of which, I almost keep forgetting to do this. Of course, all the usernames for all the platforms I'm on, like Twitter, again, don't know why I'm still on that, but anyway, still, Telegram, Instagram, just for the hell of it, Odysee and Gab. If you want to follow me there, if you haven't done so already, please follow me there if you can. What was the other thing? Also in the description down below for the YouTube live stream, if you want to support my work via financially, you can always donate through my Coffee page or my PayPal directly if you want to. Again, please don't feel obligated as if you have to do that. If you want to donate, that's entirely up to yourself. If you do donate, I appreciate your kind generosity. If you don't, again, that's completely fine. As I keep saying over and over again on the show, I'm not going to lose any sleep or anything like that whatsoever. The option is there. If you want to donate, you can donate however, and of course, how you want to regarding to that. So, anyway, who else is in the chat? Merton, love that picture of Kenny. I'm assuming the one you're referring to is the Kenny Smith one, where it's himself with Claire, and it's underneath the I'm assuming it's maybe the name of a village called Whiteness, which is pretty basic, I have to say. So I don't know if that's the one you're referring to, but if it is, I agree with you. It's a pretty pretty base image. Clifford's Tower in York, that's the place. Thank you, Roy Herbert. Greatly appreciate that. Clifford's Tower. So yeah, that definitely was a lot of great work from PA Yorkshire, especially the story they told of what happened throughout that day when they were doing it. So quite funny fact, even from hearing it, it does sound like something you would see from like a comedy or something like that, especially towards the end of the story, as Sam told on Tea Time with Sam and Laura, I think it was. Again, really good stuff. Let me see here, and also the PWR episode was pretty good yesterday. So because that was mostly all about the Indigenous Peoples Day as well. So let me see here. Most people just respond to each other. That's fine. Streaky Bacon's in the chat. Inshallah, Chief. Inshallah, treat to Streaky Bacon. Thank you very much for watching the show. Greatly appreciate that. Let me see. Right then. What should I start with? Of course, I got a couple of videos I can maybe show off for everyone here, because I got the articles. I might actually get the articles up here just in case that I'm ready for this even more. That will be for later on. Oh yeah, so here's the National, and also, let me see here, and also Vice. Let me see if I can get these up here just now. There was also a video Joe sent me before the show started, which I had a quick watch, and it's quite a creepy video from the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus takes aim at homophobic stereotypes. So this is a video by Now This News. So we'll have a look at that later on, and then we'll see from there. Am I sharing the screen? I'm not sharing the screen. That's fine. What Tower 1381? Thank you very much for watching the show. How you doing? I think also Amanda Lee's in the chat. I don't know if I addressed her or not, but if I haven't, thank you very much for watching the show, Amanda Lee. Greatly appreciate you being there. I think Joe was there, but I think he's coming back. Let me see here. So I've got the article here, and then yeah, that's fine. Fashion, this will be the one. All right, that's fine. Just keep it there for now. Perfect. And then I'll get the Vice article up here. Although I think I did have a quick read of the Vice article. I think that might be more for the Indigenous Peoples Day. Let me just have a quick look again just to make sure. Far Right hijacks Global Indigenous Peoples Day. Yeah, that would be for like the next topic, I would imagine. Right, then let's see here. Except, let's have a look here. Right, so we've got everything. Resisting the Lies, or DJ is in the chat. How you doing? Thank you very much for watching the show. Aunt Sally is with us. Hello, Aunt Sally. Thank you very much for watching the show. BP Jordy, how you doing? Thank you very much for watching the show. Jacob G, is it the song We're Coming for Your Children? Old but still disturbing. It is that one, yeah. It's maybe some kind of like a response they made about the harassment they had online or something like that, which, I mean, we'll definitely have a look at that in a short moment here. And then we'll see from there. Let me see who else. I think that's pretty much all the chat updated, and I think there's more people coming in slowly but surely. But hey, the more the merrier, I would say. That's the old saying when it comes to people watching the show. So right then, okay, so I've got everything I need. There was actually another video. I don't know if we can maybe. No, I'll wait till Joe comes on, because I think this video is quite telling. So this was a video I came across on Twitter earlier today. So I got everything all sorted up. I got all my notes and everything for tonight's episode. Then I watched this video on Twitter that was a boy transitioning to a girl. It was like a news interview type of idea, and of course the mother was there. And I think it would be really interesting to do like a reaction to that, because I think that video really does speak many volumes what these kids are going through and how they're going through it. It's really interesting. I'll definitely get that up in a short moment here. 5:15. Joe's in the backstage. Right, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, no need for introductions or anything like that at all, because this gentleman has been on the show many times before. Again, he won't be on the show for long, but again, I'm sure he'll come on at like longer on a later date. Anyway, I'll just bring him on the show right now. Ladies and gentlemen, having him back on the show for the umpteenth time in a row, here is Joe Marsh on Mood of the Nation. Hello, Joe. Thank you very much for coming on the show. How you doing, sir?
I can hear me okay.
I can hear you just fine. Thank you very much.
How's it going then?
Not bad, not bad. I'm just saying to people in the chat, today I'm going to be talking about the reaction to both Indigenous Peoples Day, which of course will be later on, and then we're going to be talking about what we talked about earlier on for today's episode about Drag Queen Story Hour, because I know you were at the protest in Leeds with the other members of PA, like Mark, Lauren, Sam, and Barclay and Jody were there as well, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I think we can start off from there, because I do have an article about that particular protest anyway. So if we can maybe start from there, that would be grand. So maybe what I can start off with is maybe give, if you don't mind, Joe, maybe your perspective of that protest and how it went down, in your opinion, regarding to that.
Yeah, it was really good, like, and because we all met up outside of Leeds and got the train in together, and there was about 60 of us on the train, and that's really good numbers, that is. And when we got to Leeds, like, some of them couldn't even fit on the train. It was that packed, like. So some of them had to get a taxi, so we had to wait for them. And then we came out of the station, and we just said, put the banners up, like, just go for it. Because we didn't know, you go to some cities and everybody's clapping you, and you go to other places and they're all screaming at you, like,
Yeah.
And everyone was just clapping us, they were all going, people walking past, like, we had a few people shouting things, like, but the majority of people were all for it, like, So it was really good, and it was probably about a 10-minute walk up to the library, and it was just like, it looked really good. You've seen the photos, haven't you, of us all walking through the town, like?
Yeah, I have to say that was a pretty base photograph. It was just like, just seeing you all like walking towards the library, I would imagine, and it's almost like, I mean, of course, people who've been in the army or anything like that, please don't take offense to this, but it just looks like as if you were gearing up for war with the lefties and all of that. It was pretty awesome, I have to say. And it was actually one of the photographs I was like, oh, I really wish I was there. I don't know if I would have been the only Scottish member from PA Scotland, or maybe some of the guys would have came with me, but man, I really wish I was there. And especially from what I've heard from people who were there, Mark, Lauren, Sam, and the rest, just their experience with standing on one side, while the other side of it were all the counter protesters. And the images I've seen online, especially one of them with these absolute mutants, are just, it's you can't even make that stuff up. And it would have been something else if I were to see it in person, but man, well, that must have been some event. I mean, what was your reaction to seeing some of these lefties?
I've been on hundreds of demos in my life, and we've been attacked by Antifa loads of times, and that, like, this wasn't Antifa. It was just like it was a mad shower of like rainbow people and trannies, basically, and there was loads of them. There must have been about 150, maybe 200 of them, but it wasn't like, you only had about 2 or 3 people in black with their faces covered that you could actually say were Antifa,
Yeah.
And these people made no attempt to attack us. They were just there, just singing. It was like a mad, like that bar on Star Wars where it's just full of freaks. Like, that's exactly what it was like. There was just so many, and there was like loads of women there, right? Or you think they're women. Loads of them were masked up, right? And with COVID masks, because the funny thing is, all these lefties, they all buy the COVID bollocks as well, like, and a lot of them are still walking around with masks on. But like, there was what you thought were girls sat on the steps, and then they got these COVID masks on, and when they start shouting, they had deeper voices than me, like, so there was loads of transsexuals there, and it was just weird. And I don't know whether you've heard Mark saying about the kid, right? This lefty brought his child up to try what they were doing, lefties. They were rocking up with their kids and they were trying to make a big show out of walking the kids through the gauntlet of like all of us
Yeah.
on one side and
Mhm.
all of them on the other side. And, you know, like they want to walk their kid up so all the freaks can clap, right? And like the kids were freaking out. And the one kid just like had a panic attack and tried to run towards our side because the other side, they must have looked like fucking monsters to a child, you know? Because like there's like those ones. There was that thing with the green hair. Like, have you seen that photo? The big fat thing with the green hair. My God,
I've seen that one. Yeah, that
some
one.
of them were horrific looking, you know. And they were all like playing the drums and all this. It looked like a fucking freak show. I'm not even joking. It was just they were like a load of people with mental problems, you know.
Oh yeah.
And like there was loads of police there, like, but we had loads of people joining us, and you know, all the time people were coming up to us and saying, "Oh, what's this about?" And we were telling them, and they were like joining us and agreeing with us. Didn't see anyone get hostile with anybody. I mean, it could have happened, but most of the people I saw were, you know, or I spoke to myself, they were just taking leaflets and they were fine. And we were saying, this guy's, yeah, like he's trying to sexualize children and that, and he's getting excited by it. And they were all saying it's disgusting, you know. And a lot of these councils have been hiding it. I've seen like posts on Twitter from like councillors and MPs saying, well, we've expected a backlash, so we haven't really advertised it much. You know, they know the people don't like this, but like they're so terrified of going against the rainbow mob. You know, they just like they all want to just show how with it they are and all that sort of thing. You know, and like the cost of the policing, right? We went to one of the ones in Powys the other day, where one of his other shows, and there was about 15, maybe 20 of us. But like it was PA lot and just you know, other normies as well. Like, and when they got him out of there, this drag queen, he was in his Jeep with undercover police, and his Jeep shot out. He had like 4 other cars in convoy, all with undercover police in. Right? How much is that costing? You know, not only like he's getting 450 quid for the day anyway, right? And the policing cost must be ridiculous. Now, if it was anything else, the police would say, nah, we can't afford to police this. And they wouldn't, you know, if it was just you doing some show, like, or going about your business and you, for some reason, you had people opposing you and it was going to cost the police money, they'd refuse to police it without being paid by you. Do you know what I mean? Right?
Yeah.
But they will not go against this rainbow mob. They will not, because everyone wants to show how, you know, down with it they are. And like nobody wants to be called a homophobe, do they? Do you know what I mean? So they're all saying, oh, well, we'll defy the haters. We'll defy the haters. So they're just throwing money at this. Like, and they were in Porth Call today, and I watched the live stream because I couldn't go there because I was working. And the guy that was doing the live stream, he was saying, he was commenting on how many police were there. He said, look at them, there's loads of them. They were all over the place. And they were driving around and everything. You know, like, and like, I know people who work in shops, they get burgled, right? And the police say, well, it's hardly worth sending anyone out now. And if they ever do send anyone out, it takes 3 days for a copper to come and take fingerprints, right? But like, they've got like 10, 15 coppers to protect this guy while he runs around making money off the back of sexualizing children. And I sent you a couple of photos on Telegram just now. One of them is him, and someone zoomed in on a photo of him, and he's got a fucking ad on when he's doing the show. Like, you can see it in the. Have you seen that photo?
I'm just looking at them right now. Yeah, a couple of them I've seen. Jody.
It looks like he's got a little stiffy going on there, like, you know.
That's...
And like, there's this thing, I can't remember the name of it, but it's like where they get sexually excited by pretending to be a woman, you know. And he may be getting sexually excited because he's got children in front of him as well, like, you know. But the whole thing is dodgy. The guy, honestly, he looks like really sinister and satanic, right? You would not want to be locked in his basement, you know? Have you seen the guy? And especially when he takes his wig off, he looks really, really like dodgy, you know?
Yeah, I
And
wouldn't. I wouldn't
look,
have him anywhere near children or anything like that at all.
no. You know, like some of these lefties, right? Like they were screaming. One of them shouted, "Kill Grandma Towler!" Apparently,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
You know, like they're not wired up right. They're really not wired up right. And like some of the ones that tried arguing is like they don't even know what we're saying, and they're not interested. You know, they wouldn't even care if he was a predator. They just, as long as they're against us, they just do whatever we're for, they're against. Do you know what I mean? And
Mm.
like they weren't interested. And the one of the Welsh demos that I couldn't go to, but I watched the live stream. One of the lefties there was saying, "Show me evidence that drag queens are grooming kids. Then I want to see what do they call it? I want to see a case study on it with citations and all this sort of thing."
Yeah,
Like,
all that
oh
same
God, like,
lefty.
yeah,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Like, oh, of course I can provide that for you. Do you know what I mean? They're just not normal. And like, even if you gave him that, if you had it and gave it to him, he'd say, "Nah, that's bullshit." You know, there's just no winning with these people. They're absolutely not wired up right. And he was saying, "I'm bringing my children here because I want to teach them love and tolerance and all this sort of thing." Like, the fact is, right, this Ada guy, he's got a load of different social medias like Facebook, Instagram, right? Now he says kids that he's done shows for have contacted him and told him it was wonderful. So kids are going away, looking him up on the internet, and then talking to him, right? Without their parents knowing about that, obviously. Do you see what I mean? People
Yeah.
saying, "Well, what's the problem? They're with their parents." But they're not with their parents when they go home, look him up on Google, and then start messaging him, and he starts chatting them up. That's exactly what grooming is, And he says, "Oh, I've had lots of children message me and say it was the best thing that ever happened to them going to my show." And also, he's fucking grooming children, and he's open about it. And he's playing a victim. Like ITV Wales spoke to him and he started crying on there. Do you know what I mean? So all of a sudden, he's the victim. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's beyond, like, no one's tried to attack him. People have been outside there protesting legitimately and handing out leaflets, and he doesn't like it. Tough luck if he doesn't like it. But what he keeps doing, like in Powers the other day, he advertised that he was going to first to Newtown, then to Hay-on-Wye, then to Brecon. And I said he probably won't go to Hay-on-Wye because that's really out of the way, and it would have been a bad detour for him. So I said, I don't think he's going there. Some people went there. He left the first venue with his massive police escort, and I said, let's go to Brecon. So we went to Brecon. He was there. He'd skipped Hay-on-Wye. That was a red herring to make the protesters go the wrong way. And then we had some woman come over speaking to us outside who was obviously from Special Branch or something like that. And she was like being a bit nasty to us. And I said to her, "Do you want to see some photos of him being a paedophile online?" And she went, "No, not really." And I said, "You're not interested, are you, love?" They just ain't interested. The police they fall over themselves to protect these people as well. They can't come out for a burglary, but they're painting rainbows on their cars, It's just, the whole thing is just disgusting. Like, like I say, everywhere he goes, all these police there, it must be costing a fortune, But anyone else would have been cancelled by now, but he won't be.
Yeah, I was even going to point out as well. I think from what I remember, it's all taxpayers' money, if I'm not mistaken. All that money.
The councils are paying it, because the Vale Council down here, they're really corrupt. They are, and it's just full of lefties, and they just refuse. You do freedom of information requests, and they refuse to give you the info. They just say, "Oh, this is not in the public interest," or "This is against the safety of the individual." But other ones have given the info. he's getting 450 quid a day. So that he's doing 3 shows a day. He's probably getting 150 an hour, right? Because he does a 1 hour show. There's 3 shows a day. That's 450, right? That's good money, that is. But then, as well as that, the police are not going to police this for free, so the councils will be paying the policing bill. That's all coming out of taxpayers' money, right? And we got councils down here saying, "Oh, we can't afford this. We can't afford to collect the bins. We can't afford to fix the holes in the road. We can't do nothing. We got to turn the street lights off because we can't afford them." But they can afford that to police a circus like this, And it's all like paedophilia is the last taboo now, right? Like half of these lefties already on the thing of love has no age and maps like minor attracted persons. They want this legalized, and it's obviously they can't get it legalized overnight. So it's a slow process, and this is the beginning of it. Like nonsense like this going into schools and. Well, he's going into libraries now, but if it gets normalized and accepted, he'll be going into schools,
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And you've had people from councils down here in Wales saying, advising people on they've had a Skype meeting and all this, and saying, just lie to people and say it's just like a pantomime. It's something like a pantomime, This is literally, and not just that. One of his books is about standing up to bullies and all this sort of thing. And it's 3 goats who are black, brown, and something else against the white goat.
Yeah.
The white wolf, that's it. So he's writing anti-white hatred books as well, And the books are about animals pooing on each other. And you know what I mean? We don't even want to start going down that road. I've seen videos of him getting the kids to shout poo and all this sort of thing, and he stood there all turned on by it. It's a freak show, but no one's gonna step in and stop it. Like I say, the police, they're too politically correct just to get involved and say no, and the council as well, they're falling over themselves to book the guy. So it's up to us to show them that normal people don't want this. The fact is, none of these libraries have had it advertised on the doors. So when people have been protesting and people are turning up to the library and we're saying, right, this is what's going on in the library today, people are saying, I had no idea. No idea. It's only advertised on this guy's website or his Facebook page. The councils don't put it on the door because they know people will say, what the hell's that? So most of the people in and out the library just going about their daily business got no idea that that's going on there, And the councils know. They're telling the librarians not to publicly advertise it because they fucking know that people won't agree with it.
Right.
Yet they'll go on the TV and say, oh, well, it's just a handful of bigots and a handful of racists and COVID conspiracy idiots and all this sort of thing. But they deep down, they know that the general public will not accept this if they only knew about it. That's why we've leafleted all the areas around where, but we can't leaflet every single house. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't even look at leaflets. When I don't look at leaflets. When I get my mail, if there's a load of leaflets, I don't even look at them. So I expect a lot of people, other people are like that as well. But I mean, we've done our best. We've got it publicized in the papers down here, and that's all we could do. But we've had a few people join us, but most people have just walked past. They'll say, "Oh yeah, what's this about? Oh, that's disgusting," and then they just walk away. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But that's just how people are. But he's still carrying on with his tour, and this won't be the last one. This is his summer tour. He'll be doing an autumn one next, or maybe a winter one, or maybe both. So we've just got to carry on and another thing is what I've noticed is other people are setting themselves up now as drag queen story hour storytellers. Have you noticed that?
I have noticed that. Yeah.
There was one in Norwich, but he got cancelled. But he's not going to give up. There's another one in Hull, I think. people are going to realize, these trannies are going to realize, ooh, I can get 450 quid a day here just reading stories to kids, which is a turn on as well. Like, so it won't just be this guy that's going to, there'll be hundreds of them. If we allow it to become normalized, there'll be hundreds of them, It's just, and then they'll be selling themselves to the schools, all of it. Even if they start performing in schools, it's, they'll be getting paid for that as well. That'll all be coming out of council tax money. All these councils keep saying they got no money, but they got plenty of money for this bullshit. It's beyond, it is.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that, like, if we do ignore it, like, and if it all just keeps continuing the way things are, who's to say that what we're seeing at the moment might not get even worse, because more of these drag queens are coming out and possibly want to read out to the kids. I mean, I just hope to God that it doesn't progress further into like something more sinister or more devious. But I think the only way how we can stop that, of course, as you said, we just need to keep speaking out about it. So any future events, definitely we need to get there as soon as we possibly can. I'm actually curious at this point, how many of these shows have been completely cancelled? I would imagine at this point there must be multiple of them that have been completely just cancelled out. Because I think, now, to be fair, some of them have been cancelled due to some of the protests. I think some of them were cancelled because Antifa themselves were showing up. So there was possible incitement to violence. So because of that, because they were going to be there, that one show had to be cancelled. And as a matter of fact, with the Leeds protest, I think Antifa did announce they were going to be there, but they were also going to have it as like I don't know if you've seen this, Joe, but they said they were going to make it their own like personal safe space or something gay as that. I remember it's that being mentioned on either Tea Time with Sam and Laura or on last night's PWR. But just kind of going back to the Leeds protest, I have heard what happened there, especially I think again was pointed out by Laura on both shows. That sounded really heartbreaking with that kid who ran towards to the PA side, because they seemed to be like very normal looking people. So I think even that the little story in and of itself, that should speak many volumes to many people, that even the kids do not like going through this type of stuff. Not just because of the fact that they don't understand it, but because of the fact that this is something that it really makes them very uncomfortable. So the fact that the parents who are taking these kids to these events, knowing the fact that the kids don't understand it, possibly make them uncomfortable, I think, I mean, I know it's a bit of a cliche to say at this point. I know people in the chat might say this, but it's child abuse. It's hands down child abuse. And I think those kids should be taken off those parents.
Well, I was saying to people about 15 years ago, when my kids were little, like they're grown up now, like I got arrested by the police for a few videos I made, trying to do me for inciting religious hatred and all this sort of thing. But I didn't get convicted of anything in the end. But they launched, I had a 6-month social service inquiry because I was attending right-wing demonstrations. And I had a world of hassle and shit off them, right? And I'm not with my wife now, but we had to go to meetings. And she would just sit there crying all the way through these meetings. They're being really nasty to us. And I had to go to this massive meeting with all these police and council people, and they wanted to put my children on the at-risk register because they were saying that I was putting them in danger by attending demonstrations, right? And because of my crazy right-wing views and all this sort of thing, And I had to really fight it, and it took 6 months. And in the end, it was all dropped, right? And then a few weeks later, one of these social workers rang me up and said, "Oh, hi." She said, "I know it was all being dropped and that, but I just wanted you to know that, if you ever need any help or anything, I'm here for you." And all that. I just said, "Are you fucking real or what?" I said, "Don't bother ringing me ever again," right? And that was the grief I got for my right-wing views, right? And these people are taking their children to see a groomer, right? there's evidence that he's posted paedophilic stuff online, right? There's all this, like, have a look at the photo I showed you of him there with obviously a stiffy, right, doing one of his shows and that. They're taking their children there, and like, where's social services? Social services are probably clapping along with it. Do you know what I mean? It's just, it's like, this country is beyond. It totally just, like, all these institutions, the police, social services, the probation, they've all just been infiltrated, by people who haven't got our best interests at heart. And they're all over this deviancy. And like, if it's not stopped now, it'll go from the libraries to the schools. Because at the moment now, lefty freaks have got to take their kids there, right? But if it's in the schools, then every child will be subjected to it, and it'll end up being mandatory that kids have got to sit through this, because that's what will happen. So we can't allow it. Like, we just can't allow it. And like, there's quite a few other groups getting involved in that, and like, a lot of there's a few of these sort of COVID-y type groups that's been going to all the demos in Wales, like, and as long as someone goes, I don't care who it is, but like, he has to be opposed wherever he goes. And obviously maybe the policing costs will end up forcing them to cancel it, but I'm not sure that that's going to happen, but it should. If it was anything else, it would, wouldn't it?
Of course. Mm.
But like, that Leeds one, that must have cost a fair few quid, because there was like, there was about 60 of us to start with, and then by the time that a lot of other people joined us, there was maybe 100 of us, probably 200 lefties there, and like, there was an atmosphere there, like, there was no trouble, but like, they were screaming, shouting. Every time one of ours was doing a speech, they were trying to talk over they were just shouting all sorts of deranged crap, like, and we could see loads of police, but they must have had loads on backup as well, like, I bet it cost an absolute fortune. And it's not our fault it cost a fortune. It's Antifa's fault, or the lefties, whatever you want to call them, the Star Wars mob, like, and what they do is, they used to do this on other demos I used to go to. They eventually, you've got to think, right, we've made our point, now let's go home, right? So they wait for you to pack up and start rolling up your banners and that, and then they go, bye bye, and then they say, we ran you out of town.
I've seen that, yeah.
I know, like, oh, well, we got, and then they say, like, Hope Not Hate will say, oh, the racists were chased out of town by Antifa, and all the divvies in the chat will be clapping, going, yay, well done, and all this. Like, and we just walked away, got the train back to where we started from, went to a pub and had a meal and a social, and it was epic, And we were going to go to Rochdale and do the same thing, but the Rochdale one's been cancelled. And I'm pretty sure Rochdale up to their neck in grooming scandals anyway, right? And the last thing they want with their large Muslim community is 50, 60 of us walking off a train with banners, I'm sure, So that one for now is cancelled, and they've not said why. And he was fuming, the drag queen, because he was saying on his Facebook page, like, the Rochdale Council have cancelled it without even informing me. So they must have shit themselves. I think they watched what happened in Leeds and they thought, nah, we can't be having that here, And like, so they should. They're not, they should be ashamed of how they've behaved with the grooming of our girls, like, for years, which is still going on in Rochdale, But like, they were just about to get themselves involved in more child grooming. Couldn't make it up. But his tour's still going on. He's got a few more dates left, like. So I think he's done all his Welsh ones. No, there's a big one in Cardiff on Friday, but I can't make that because I've got to work. And I work quite far away from Cardiff. And but I think there's quite a few people going to that. And I've seen lefties and trannies saying that they're going to be there as well. So that one should be good. But yeah, he needs, like I say, he needs to be opposed wherever he goes because this cannot become normalized.
Oh, of course, yeah, absolutely. I was just going to ask, sorry, just to make sure, when is that protest happening? The one you just
It's
mentioned just there?
Friday. That's
Friday, right?
tomorrow.
Oh,
The
right.
Cardiff one. Yeah, he's in Cardiff Central Library. But like, if you go onto Twitter and put Cardiff drag queen, you'll see some trannies and lefties saying they're going to be there, and there's some the group. The COVID group that have been going around all the Welsh ones, they're going, and I know some of our lads are going as well. Like, so there should be a good turnout there.
Don't know if I was just thinking like, if it's going to be tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to be working or tomorrow with that. But if I don't make it, I mean, hopefully maybe next time or
Well, it's a long way from you, like, isn't it? You know, to go to Cardiff. But he's got a show going on in Guernsey, and do you know, here's another thing I forgot to mention.
Yeah.
He's going to Guernsey, and people are saying that's a bit weird. He's going to Guernsey. He's done a show in Guernsey like 2 years ago, right? And then we noticed that he's done shows in Bridgend, in Wales, exactly a year ago. He's done shows. So before we'd even heard of him, right? He's been doing shows. He's not just come out of the woodwork now. He's been doing shows probably for the last 2 years. But now he's just launched himself on this big summer tour, you know? But like I say, I noticed that since this fuss has been happening, other people have been setting themselves up as drag queen storytellers. So it's just going to escalate, you know, unless the protests carry on. The protests need to get bigger. More people need to get off their asses and get to them, you know, and maybe we can stop it. Like, it needs to be nipped in the bud, because it will. You know, give it a year or 2 years, and this will be on the curriculum, and they'll be just preaching this crap to all our children, and we'll have no say in the matter. You know, because if you don't stop it, you know, at the first when it first starts, you've got no chance years later on when it's become accepted. You know.
And that's it. That's part of the whole slippery slope. Yep. Yeah, but the more it gets pushed on, the more accepting it becomes. Then yeah, there's no way of stopping it. So, best thing to do is definitely call it out for what it is, and definitely do attend these protests as you possibly can. So yeah, there was also something else I wanted to mention about that as well. I've seen a lot of reaction from these protests, especially the one in Leeds. There was, of course, a lot of really good responses from it. Like people were just applauding and cheering, like were appreciating for not just what PA did for the protest, but a lot of like groups who were involved during that time. There's also been a lot of naysayers, shall I say? Like there was one in particular I remember watching. Was it last night or the night before? I'm pretty sure maybe you've seen it, Joe, but it's a video by the Locust Eaters, or it's Sargon's little news podcast, or whatever it's maybe called. They talked about these protests, especially the one that recently happened. And then there was a part where they brought up the leaflet that we would send out about the drag queen story hour ones. So they had that, and then of course they mentioned it was from Patriotic Alternative, and then at that point on, they just started like talking smack about Mark Collett and how he's not a real patriot and all of that. And I just remember thinking, like, well, at least he actually attended these protests. At least like people with MPA actually participated in these protests. I'm just curious, like, have these couple of pseudo-intellectual douchebags actually went to these protests themselves? Because I'll tell you something, I don't think they actually did. I think these are the types of people who will just see a problem and then just talking about it without actually, giving out like a proper solution to the problem. But
I mean, I've seen that video. They're a right pair of idiots, right? Like they go, well, the mainstream won't talk about it, so that's why we have to. I mean, what does them two twats talking about it do anyway? Doesn't do anything, does it? Like most of their audience are probably civnats. He went into some big pile of absolute shit about us being Nazis, right? And he said, you can't be a British patriot if you're a Nazi, because Nazism is a 1930s German fucking thing and all that. I'm not a fucking Nazi. I don't run around talking about Hitler, right? Like, I'm an ethno-nationalist, right? And I want the best for my people. Like, people can just, as soon as anyone starts saying, well, you know, Matt Collins a Nazi and they're all Nazis, like, just, fucking bore off, like. Do you know what I mean? Because, you know, the point is, like, they're just trying to make themselves, that's virtue signaling, you know? Oh, you know, they just like, oh, that's good what they did, but actually they're assholes because they're Nazis and they, like, we run around with fucking Adolf Hitler t-shirts on and stuff,
Right.
you know? They're just absolute idiots, you know? They don't even know what we're about. And they're not even interested to find out what we're about, you know? Like,
Mm.
but you know, there's quite a lot of these people who do streams and all that, and they just like, oh, yeah, they're Nazis, they're Nazis. They don't even know what our argument is. And like the lefties, well, they got this no platform thing for us. They will not debate us because they know they'll fucking lose, you know,
Right.
because they don't want the public to know what our actual arguments are. Because I have people that I meet in the course of my business, and they go, oh, you're one of those fascists, then, are you? And I say, no, I'm not a fucking fascist. And then I tell them what I'm about, and they go, oh, yeah, well, I can't disagree with any of that. So that's why they don't want the general public to know what we're about. And that's why the newspapers always just say, oh, yeah, they're Nazis. Oh, yeah, they're fascists, you know? And that's it. They don't say they want this, they want that. They just say, oh, they're Nazis. They just want to kill everyone, you know? And that's it. And they want to keep people in the fucking dark because they know that if the British public wake up and realize what's going on and realize what our message is, they will agree with it, you know? So that's why, you know, like, and them two there, they're just fucking gatekeepers sat there saying, oh no, Matt Callett's a Nazi, you know, they're just a pair of twats. They don't do anything. They don't go to demos, do they? You
No.
know, it's up to us Nazis to go and fucking do it because no one else will, you know? So if they want to call me a Nazi for getting off my ass and going to demos, I will. Like, I don't care. I'm happy with that, you know? It's as simple as that. Like, sit on your fucking settee calling everyone Nazis and achieving piss all, you know? Because that's all you're doing. And then they think they're so important, you know? Like that bit where they said, well, you know, that's why we have to talk about it. Yeah, no one cares what you've got to say, mate. You don't do anything in real life, you know? Get out and do some fucking activism. That's what it's all about.
That is what it's all about. Yeah, I just like I just remember watching it. And I just remember thinking like does anyone actually take these people seriously anymore? I mean, you think that maybe they themselves would actually look at themselves and think, you know what, maybe our ideology is not really working. Maybe it's about time we might look into other ventures, but they just don't. They're just incredibly stubborn because of that. We all know for a fact that civic nationalism is not going to really be either not going to stay for long, or maybe it's already done. It's already like dead at this point. I mean, we all, again, not to toot any horns or anything with that at all, but we've seen what happened with Fort Britain, and that
Yeah.
at the time, that was quite a prominent nationalist party, if you want to call it that, but it was very prominent nonetheless, and yet that's no longer active anymore at this point.
Because civic nationalism can never win, right? Because if anyone can be British, then being British means nothing at all, right? If these people can just come and live here and that makes them British, then, you know, being British has no meaning, does it? You know,
Right.
like Chinese people walking around saying, I'm British, I'm British. You're not fucking British, you know? You're Chinese and you live here, right? That civic nationalism of like, oh, this is my mate, he's black, you're just as British as me and you, or even more British, you know? And it's just like absolute nonsense. They will not win. And like the thing is, you know, maybe we won't win either, but I don't care because I'll stand by my principles. And the only way to stop, you know, our people becoming demographically replaced and to stop all the crime and all the other bad things that have come with this immigration that we were never asked if we wanted in the first place, the only way to stop it is to start fucking reversing it and sending them back, you know? And I don't mean all of them, but I mean, like when I was young, there was black people here and different races around the base, but they weren't colonizing whole cities, you know? It's just like now they are. They don't want to integrate. They're only here for what they can get. And the majority of them need to go back. And that's the only way they could ever be sorted. And like these civics who just say that rounding up a few grooming gangs is going to sort all our problems out. Well, it's not, you know? And as long as these people are here in such numbers, we're always going to have the same problems. Is the only way to actually get rid of the problems is to get rid of the people, you know? And if that makes me extreme and a Nazi, well, that's what I am, like, you know? And I'm going to have to get off in a minute, like, anyway. So, as I said earlier, I'm still working really at the moment. So I'll have to get off, guys. But it's nice speaking to you. I just wanted to tell you about Leeds anyway. Like, you know, the trouble with me is once I start speaking, I can't shut up, like.
Well, no worries. It's been a pleasure once again of you being on the show, Joe. Again, I'm sure we'll have you back on the show, of course, possibly for the 100th episode coming up. And we'll definitely see if we can get that sorted out. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Right, I'll see you again, guys. Right.
No worries, Joe. Take care and stay safe. Yeah. Excellent. Well, there you go, folks. That was Joe Marsh. I did say he was not going to be on for long, but hey, it was great that he was on the show nonetheless with that. And I am absolutely warm just now. I'm going to unbutton one of my buttons just now. So, yeah, I hope you've all enjoyed that segment with Joe. I think there's one thing to maybe kind of look into as well. I actually wish I would have showed this when Joe was on, but maybe I'll share it when privately with Joe. But this was a video I was talking about earlier on. So I do agree with the idea that, again, just finishing off this point before we move on to that. So I definitely agree that everyone involved with these protests are actually doing a fantastic work. I think it needs to continue on doing this as well. Now, the one thing I also want to point out, kind of going back to what Joe and I were talking about with the Lotus eaters, whatever you want to call them, pseudo-intellectuals, if you will. There is something I want to point out as well, as in regard to the recent Leeds protest. Well, just before it was about to happen, and there was a lot of people who were going to be turning up to the event, but they had to turn away or not bother going to it because of like safety concerns or like, you know, basically the fear of being called like racist or Nazis or whatever the case may be. I just have one thing to say to these groups of people. Now, it's not going to be harsh or anything like this at all, but time's running out. All right. I might have already said this in the previous episode, but I think it's something like this bears repeating. Time is not on our side. Father Time waits for no man or woman for that matter. I understand that something like that may be quite uncomfortable, but at this point in time, what's more important? Someone calling you a Nazi because you don't fall in line with their political ideology, or the safety of your children? So I think with that, regardless of if they're going to call you like Nazi or anything like this at all, you should be there for these protests and speak your mind of why this is horrible, why that something like this should never be taught to our children or anything like that at all. Again, going back to what we were talking about, what Laura mentioned on both streams this past week, that story about the little girl being uncomfortable and just upset, even to the point of running up to the PA crowd because to the girl there were seemed to be normal, you know, people. That alone should tell you what these kids do not like going through this type of stuff. Again, they don't understand it, nor do they feel comfortable about it. And the fact that they're but pretty much being forced into learning this type of stuff, all for the sake of progressivism and the whole, you know, love instead of hate. It's all just complete nonsense. It's all a facade. It's fake, completely fake. And I feel really bad for those kids, and I think those kids should be taken off of their parents at that point. Now, one thing I want to showcase here before we move on to the next thing, because I mean I still have that article, but I mean I'll read a little about the article, then I'll show you the video, and then we'll move on to the next thing. Also, a bit of a shout out in the chat. I've also seen some of the people who are watching. Well, Joe was on the show. I've seen Active Patriot, which of course, thank you very much for watching. I think I've seen Cyborg in the chat as well. Thank you very much for watching the show. Greatly appreciate you being here. Callow Saxon, thank you very much for watching. Steve Cray, of course. Canny Hinney, Kitchen Skillet. Was there anyone? Denny Lambia, how you doing? Thank you very much for watching. I also seen Bill Athling watching the show as well. Bram Al, Robin Sherwood, Patricia Soa, if I pronounced that right. If I don't, my apologies. But there we go. Dragon Energy. Thanks me all up to date with the chat. Excellent. Well, again, for those that didn't mention, Rigor Mortis as well. Again, thank you very much for watching the show. I greatly appreciate you all being here. I'll touch upon this article. I won't share the screen or anything like that at all because I don't think there's really any point. It's from The National with this article. It reads, fascist movements are using public anger to mobilize in the UK. It's something what was mentioned in the Locust Eaters last time when they were talking back about like PA and Mark Collett. Oh, they're not real patriots because they're Nazis or something cringe as that. Crank up the music and strap yourself in. It's the age of anger, baby, and it's all flowing in the wrong direction. That sentence is completely cringe. You can feel it in the air. It's in every overflowing bin on the street, every half-empty town and centre that's been left to rot, every service with only half the staff needed to keep things running. Amid the promise of more cuts to come, there's a feeling, a buzz that things aren't quite right, that things are on the edge of slipping slowly at first, then all at once. The United Kingdom is angrier than ever, and it has every right to be. We've dragged ourselves through back to back crisis for at least the past 2 decades, from the economic crash in 2008 to the recession that's just getting started, gnawing its way into our lives. And for what? To be told we have to quietly suffer stagnating wages and toxic workplace practices, lest we make worse a problem we didn't cause. We have a recession about that. Okay, we all know that. That's really because of the government in this case, especially what's going on with the Ukraine situation. Right. So basically, yeah. So I mean, the basic gist of the article. If I'll see if I can get a part up here about Britain is a fortress of class. Reply with media with that. As long as working classes find one that's itself and can be organized. The situation is a perfect breeding ground for far-right recruitment, fascists who blame the war successes of capitalism and class not on the chief executives of parliamentarians, cutting welfare and healthcare, but instead on the migrants, the queers, women and minorities. Neo-Nazi groups are organizing in the UK right now. Fascist Party Patriotic Alternative was protesting outside drag queen storytime events in England last week, complete with white supremacist and anti-LGBTQ slogans. There's a reason hate crime is on the rise in the UK, alongside attacks on reproductive health care services and LGBTQ plus charities. So-called traditional values won't save us. Arguably, they've played a role in bringing us to this. Okay, I'm not going to read any further. If you guys are interested, I'll post a link for the article in the chat if you guys want to read through it yourselves. And then calling us so fucking idiotic, we don't care. Yeah, exactly. Actually, when Laura told that story about during the protest, when all these counter protesters were saying kill Grandma Taylor or Grandma Taylor should die or something like that, I mean, it's disgusting, but I mean, at the end of the day, is anyone really that surprised? I mean, we all know for a fact that these lefties, these rebels without a cause or rebels with causes, I guess you want to call them that. We all know for a fact that they have no bottom whatsoever. They have no sense of honor with them whatsoever. They will do anything they can to try and hurt somebody because they don't fall in line with their political ideology. We know this for a fact. That Lotus Eaters clip was so ultra cringe. Who is this Tory guy? I don't know. I mean, I would call them, say, like Sargon's little milk-fed gimps, if you will, but that's just me. It's just, I don't understand why they're still so hell-bent on being civic nationals, or at least like Sargonites, if you will, in terms of believe in the idea of, oh, this is how we can stop the SJWs and save Britain. We just have to give these foreigners a copy of Locke and then the British flag and tell them how great Britain is, and then everything will be fine, hunky-dory. It's like, it doesn't work like that, mate. I'm pretty sure you guys have tried that, and it went back and completely fallen flat in your faces. So it doesn't really work exactly. Now, rebels without a brain, more like, yeah, it's just funny seeing these lefties. I mean, because it's like they're basically tools of the state. They're tools of the government. They have no. They claim to be anti-establishment and all of that, but we all know for a fact that they're very pro-establishment. Well, I wouldn't say pro-establishment, but they're part of the establishment. I mean, there's really no ways of going about it. Now, what I'm going to show real quick is this video that I found on Twitter. I wish I may have shown this to Joe, but maybe I'll show him in private later on. Sargon hates everyone who isn't English. He's a fucking racist himself. Yeah, he does talk a lot of negative views towards other Europeans like Germans or French or whatever. Speaking of which, I think I've seen a video that was posted on Laura's Telegram. I might actually bring that up real quick. It's from I'm sure people might have seen it. It's from Trigonometry, where one of the dudes, the skinny, lanky, Jewish kid, Constantine, whatever his name was, he was talking about how. Well, they were talking about how there was going to be like a decline of Germany going that's possible to happen, and of course this twig, if you will, was basically saying that excites him or something like that. Which, I mean, I'll showcase the video maybe after this video, but and then we'll have a look at that. He's a fucking prick, as we say in Ireland, so fair enough. Right, this video on Twitter. Right, now this is a news segment. I don't know what channel it was on. I don't know if it's CNN or MSNBC or something like that, but we'll have a look at this. This is all part of children transitioning, quote unquote, from boy to girl or vice versa, girl to boy, that sort of thing. Now, when it gets to the interview segment, especially when the mother is involved, it says in the tweet, pay attention to the mother, because I think that speaks many volumes. Let me see if I can share the screen real quick. Again, I don't know if people might have seen this video already, but I think this video speaks many volumes of what these kids are going through at the moment. Oops. Am I the right one? Yeah, right, that's fine. Let's have a look at this. Watch the mother. Right. This is not a long video. I think this is just about a minute long, so we'll watch it in its entirety. Now, before I get to that part, I will pause it just so you're all prepared. But anyway, yes, from NBC News, right? Fair enough. Hide that as well. So have a look at this. 3, 2, 1.
Kieran Clausen collects crystals. She dabbles in face paint and she loves sports.
Oh, yeah.
What do you play?
Sorry, just for context. So the girl, quote unquote, in question, is a biological boy but transitioned to a girl. Just so that the people are clear with that.
I did play volleyball, soccer, and I want to play basketball.
To Kieran, who's transgender, it's not about racking up victories.
I don't want to win any trophies.
Right. Here's to this part here. This is the mother, right, with the transgender child here. Now, pay close attention to the mother with her mouth. It gets really interesting here, right? Check this out.
For it, though, I feel like that's the most unfair way to compete, because it's not about winning.
What's it about?
Having fun with your friends. For it, though, I feel like that's the most unfair way to compete, because it's not about winning.
Kieran's.
Did you all catch that? She was lip syncing to what her child was saying, or I guess, which really begs the question: why would she do that? Why would she be lip syncing to what her son, or I guess her daughter now, would be saying? I mean, I don't know if it's me looking way too deep into it, but maybe she was making sure he was saying the right thing, as if she was coaching him on what to say. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just my far right conspiracy theories. I don't know, but I just think that's really bizarre. Anyway, there's more here with the mother going to be crying with crocodile tears and talked about how it's such a wonderful time of people actually being their true selves or some gay shit like that. Anyway, let's have a look at that just now, and then you can see for yourselves.
Seems undeterred with a message now about her journey.
Never stop being you. That's it.
Never stop being you.
There's so many kids that don't even have the opportunity to express who they really are. We are acknowledging more people as who they are than taking something away from somebody else.
Kieran Clausen.
There we go. That's I thought maybe I could show for sure for today's episode, because I thought that was really interesting. That hopefully it's hopefully it's Jews mouthing the rehearsed script. Yeah, exactly. Kitchen skillet. Exactly. Can you see? Look at the mother. Yeah, I mean, she does look like she's part of that tribe. Let's have a quick look. Hold on a minute. See if I can get a perfect image of our own Matt. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, especially after seeing it again. But there we go. Most of the time, these kids who are transitioning from one gender to another, they're basically being coerced into doing stuff like that, which again really speaks major volumes. I think that clip alone should be basically a big red flag. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of our detractors may say, well, to be fair, that's only just one example. Well, I would say I wouldn't be surprised if it's one example of many. So there we go. It is very heartbreaking stuff. I mean, clearly the boy there, you can imagine like he's not really, what he's saying, he doesn't really mean it. He's been conditioned or coerced into saying these types of stuff just to please his mother. But that's the society we're living in just now. I know that maybe like it's something in America, but you can imagine this happening here too, especially with all the grooming stuff that's going on with these drag queens. Yep, crying for herself, indoctrinated, almost wants to encourage this. If Jews, yeah, of course. Right then, before we move on to the next topic, what time is that? 12 minutes past 6. Oh, just about under an hour left, which is fair enough. So before we move into the next and final topic, which would be about Indigenous Peoples Day of 2022, again, just to mention real quick about I would say maybe some shackle whoring, I guess you'd call it that. So what I mean by that is, again, if you guys enjoy the shows, if you want to support me financially, the links for both my Ko-fi or my PayPal accounts will be in the description down below. Again, please don't feel obligated as if you have to donate or anything like that at all. If you want to, the option is there. Like I said, my link for Ko-fi or link for PayPal is in the description down below. If you want to donate, that would be much appreciated. If not, again, that's completely fine. So we'll move on then to the main topic at hand here, which will be about, of course, this year's Indigenous Peoples Day. From what I've heard from many members of PA, that apparently we outdid last year's results. I can't remember exactly how many what would people call it? How many submissions we had from last year. I think there was about, say, and I might be wrong stands, but I think it was about close to over 400 or something like that. It was a lot of entries. I do know that from last year. But from what I've heard about this year, we've surpassed that, which is fantastic. A lot of people got involved. I know people from England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland. A lot of people outside of Britain got involved. I think, actually, where is that list? I don't know if it was Laura who shared it or maybe someone else entirely. Well, let me see if I can. I know Sweden got involved. There was a group who we're quite friendly with, Nordic Resistance, I think they're called. They got involved from what I remember. Let me see if I can find it here real quick. I didn't think I would actually need it, but maybe just for this part here, we'll have a look at this again just in a moment. Goddamn Telegram. Let's see here. Laura Towel. Last year was about 320, I think. Wow, was it really that much? I mean, it's still quite a lot, but even then, it's like. But yeah, there we go. I think if I recall, oh, here we go. Right, England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, Isle of Man. They got involved, which was surprising. America, of course, which is really good to see. Australia, New Zealand, Slovenia, Sweden, Italy, Canary Islands, France, Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, Finland, Norway, Denmark, Iceland, and Croatia all got involved, which was really good. 555 submissions by the end of day one this year. They ended with more than double last year, as Laura said. Yeah, that's actually quite impressive. That really impressive. That so I'm actually curious what it's going to be like for next year, for Indigenous Peoples Day of 2023. That will be something that I feel sorry for the poor kid, honestly, but it's Jewish crap. Yeah, last year was about. Oh, I read that part already. So yeah. A lot of people gave their entries. Even I gave a couple of photographs for the website or for the event as well, because I figured. I mean, even though I already took part with PA Scotland for Glasgow's George Square for Indigenous Peoples Day, I kind of felt like I also wanted to maybe help out from myself, kind of an idea. So I don't know if people might have seen the photographs online. In fact, one of them I posted on Twitter, which, well, I don't want to call it viral, but it kind of exploded into somewhat popularity. In fact, I'll show you guys the tweet just for context. In fact, speaking of which, I've got another notification on Twitter. Hold on a second here. Oh no, it's just for that. That's fine. Let me just get this up here real quick, and then I'll share screen real quick. There we go. Let's see here. There's my post. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day, troops. White Lives Matter hashtag, and then hashtag play your part. So this was in Falkirk. In fact, what was the name of the place? It's quite it's also quite an historic type of area, kind of. Well, hold on a minute here. Welcome to Bantaskin. Before you, remains of the Antoine Wall built to control the northernmost frontier of the Roman Empire. Yeah. So it's somewhat of a historical area. It's Bantaskin and Falkirk. So because I remember I was there before I took this photograph. I was there. This was maybe I was off work at the time, or I was working, but maybe I finished and I didn't want to go home. But I thought maybe I have a wander or like a short walk. I remember like my granddad telling me about this area. I don't know if it was maybe this area or maybe the one in, I think it's Denny or in Bo'ness, if I'm not mistaken. But I decided, well, I've seen the sign for this, so I thought, oh, I'll maybe have a look at it and check it out for myself. So I had a wander, and yeah, it was a really nice and peaceful area. It's quite a view, I will say. In fact, I took multiple photographs of this area, but from a different angle type of thing. And the view was just, it's really nice, especially if it's out during the summer, like that day was. So that must have been not this photograph, but when I was first there when I was there for the first time. This must have been, I think, April or May, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember thinking, right, this year is going to be Indigenous Peoples Day for 2022. And if I were to make photographs for that day, I thought maybe this might be the best area for it. But so I decided to get my drawing pad or drawing pad, write down White Lives Matter, as you can clearly see on the screen. And of course, that was for that day, and that was it. Of course, that's one of the 3 photographs I've submitted. The other 2 are on the PA website. If you see photographs that say Falkirk, Scotland, then those will more likely be mine. Especially if you see it with this lettering, then you'll know that would be from me. But this is one of the photographs I decided to upload onto my Twitter page. As you can clearly see, it currently speaking, it's got 80 retweets and 324 likes for this for this event. Which, I mean, I never expected it to be that big. I would have thought maybe it would get like maybe 10, maybe 15 likes, maybe a couple of retweets here and there. But the fact that it kind of exploded a little bit was shocking. Well, maybe not shocking would be the right word, but surprising, I would say, regarding to this type of photograph for the tweet. But yeah, holy shit, most retweets I ever got on my dormant channel was about 5. Fair enough. So, well, there we go. Yep. Let's see. Have to go back to work. Great stream. Thanks. No worries, Patricia. Thank you very much for jumping on and watching the stream. White Lives Matter is such an innocuous statement. Who knew it would ever have the ability to drive our enemies mad? Yeah, I know, right? It definitely does say something regarding to that. So a lot of good stuff that came out of Indigenous Peoples Day for this year. I know a lot of people, did a lot for it. Whether it be there's a lot of photographs actually that popped out from it. I don't know if you guys maybe want to maybe see some of those photographs, because again, I want to focus more on the reaction from the mainstream media. Now, technically speaking, I've already covered some of the stories that happened in Glasgow, the one I was part of. But I don't really want to get into that again, because again, like I said, I've already covered that. However, what I will say, on the other hand, is I'll cover the stuff that happened in Dundee, and I think there was also another article about that as well. Oh yeah, that's the Vice article. Yeah, I'll get that up here in a moment, because according to Vice, Indigenous Peoples Day was hijacked by us far right fascists, or whatever the case may be. Despite the fact Indigenous Peoples Day is a day for the indigenous people of their respected countries. So, for example, here in Britain, it's the Indigenous Peoples Day would be for white people, because Britain, historically speaking and culturally speaking, well, more specifically England, Scotland, Wales, and Ireland are really white countries. So, I mean, I don't think it'd be too much of a stretch to say that white people are the indigenous people of these islands, and it would be a day for them. So. But apparently, according to Vice and all the other lefty types, would definitely say that Indigenous Peoples Day is for the non-whites, and we should be celebrating their cultures and their histories, and basically and telling us white people to go fuck ourselves, apparently. But of course, they wouldn't be a fan of that, nor would they be a fan of the statement of White Lives Matter. Which, funny enough, I got the article for the Dundee event. Well, I don't want to call it event, but we'll have a look at this at the moment here. This is from the Scottish Sun, so this is not going to be biased or anything like that at all. I think this is actually the same news outlet that talked about that's a Daily Record, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, they're all the same to me anyway. So, let me see here. Oh yeah, they've covered that already. Let me replace that with this, and then we'll get started. So this is the one about the Dundee Indigenous Peoples Day event. Well, again, event, but it's more like a not a demonstration, but it's something for Indigenous Peoples Day. Not tolerated. A huge White Lives Matter sign blasted after it appears over Scott City, of course, in Dundee. Council bosses have slammed a massive White Lives Matter sign that was draped on a hill in a Scots city. The sign was placed in Dundee Law, the highest point in the city, and could be seen from the city's centre, which of course is pretty based. They did that. I don't know if that might be the best image for it. Right. So there's a banner there, and of course you can clearly see that the city centre will be about here, if I'm not mistaken. It's basically the highest point of Dundee, and of course many people would be able to see it. So yeah, there we go. The photo was shared in a tweet with the user blasting the banner. The banner has since been removed and is no longer there after council workers checked the site. Dundee City Council leader John Alexander, which I don't know if there's like a image of him, but I remember seeing an image of him. Let me see if I can get a photograph of him again, just for context sake, because I think seeing an image of this guy, I think it speaks major volumes of who we're dealing with here. John Alexander, what was his position? Was it Dundee City Council leader? Right, 1 second here. Let's appear in a moment. Maybe images. there's the fella. There's the fella. Yeah, I mean, there we go. Maybe like a bigger photograph. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there's the chap. There's a Johnny boy there. Right, so there's John Alexander. Also slammed the banner's appearance and said Dundee is a welcoming and tolerant place. He said council officers have checked the site, and I am relieved that there is no trace remaining of this banner. I mean, get a grip, me. It's just a banner that says White Lives Matter. He goes on to write, or with this other quote, he goes on to say, I am saddened to see these slogans appearing at prominent locations in Scotland. It is an attempt most often by the far right, to trivialize, excuse, and ignore the discrimination, hate, and violence endured by people of color. Our city is a welcoming and tolerant place, and that is something that the people of Dundee can be proud of. I mean, look, like, I don't want to like come off like a douche about to talking about this guy, but I mean, just look at him. From what he said with those quotes, and looking at an image of him right now, he clearly looks like the type of guy who would have no problem watching his girlfriend or wife getting boned by three black men at the same time because he's uber progressive and all of that. I mean, you probably have them as like friends, you know, like Tyrone or CJ or Jamal, you know, that type of idea. But yeah, anyway, so moving on from there. Oops, that's the wrong page. There we go. City Council and Equality spokesperson, Councillor Nadia El Nakla, I think I pronounced it right, otherwise foreign, said the banner statement will not be tolerated in Dundee. She said, "No one has said white lives don't matter. The conversation right now is specifically about black lives because since colonization, there's that word again, and until the present day, black people have been tortured, enslaved, abused, and killed by white people. Until systematic racism is dismantled and it is no longer dismissed, then the activism of the Black Lives Matter movement will continue." Just today, a shocking statistic emerged that over a 2-year period, the Metropolitan Police strip searched 660 children, the majority innocent of the suspicion against them, with 58% of these children were black. Gee, I wonder why that is. I wonder why. Maybe it's because of the fact that these types of people are prone to crime. You know, oh, but you can't say that. That's blatantly racist. It's just stating a fucking fact here. I'm just the type of guy who just calls a spade a spade. Maybe, just maybe, that these blacks stop committing crimes, and when they're getting called out for it, maybe stop using the fucking race card because it's got nothing to do with their own fucking race. It's it's sad. It's deeply sad that these far right extremists are trivializing Black Lives Matter. Like, no, we're just pointing out that white lives, in fact, do matter. They do matter, do they not? I mean, the fact that they're claiming that, oh, white lives don't matter. Well, clearly they don't in your mind, because every single time when, say, a collective of white people get together and say, we want to collectivize as a group and look out for our own people, then that gets instantly shot down by these politicians or by these figureheads. Like, oh, you can't do that because, you know, you have to be individuals. It's okay for black people to get together and collectivize. It's okay for Asians to get together and collectivize. It's okay for Middle Easterners or basically non-white people to get together and collectivize. But white people, nah, you can't do that. Don't you remember what happened in World War II with the Germans? Let me see. Denying racism and hijacking an anti-racist movement is racist and calculated, and it will not be tolerated in Dundee. In a similar incident earlier this month, a far-right group was blasted for unfurling a banner with the same message at the top of Ben Nevis. That would be us. Well, technically P. Scullin, because as I mentioned before, I was not at the Ben Nevis event. I really wish I was, but that's what they would be referring to. Ian Blackford, the SNP's Westminster leader, and also a sexual deviant apologizer, blasted the utterly abhorrent stunt, which was carried out by Patriotic Alternative. And I think there was a quote from him about that. If it's here, what is it? At least it should be. I would imagine. Don't know why it's not. Or unless, is that the actual end of the article? No, surely there must be more. I would have thought there would be more, but because that's a huge gap for any text or anything like that at all. But all right, well, that will come to the end of that article right there. So yeah, I'm going to come here for a moment here. Right then. Let's see. Blacks in Africa are still killing and enslaving black Africans today. Try talking about that. This is BS. Well, yeah, exactly. But see, that's the thing, because they know for a fact that they won't talk about actual slavery or anything like that at all going on in these non-white countries, because they know for a fact that that's not what it's ultimately about. It's about dismantling and deconstructing and completely destroying the West and, of course, white people. That's what it's ultimately about. Systematic liberalism is killing the West, not racism. Exactly. Chief Hoodie, I sent you a photo of my white dragon flag that I raised on Indigenous Peoples Day via Telegram. It's still flying and I haven't received any complaints. Let me have a look at that real quick, Roy Herbert. Thank you very much for sending that to me. Let me see. Oh, there we go. Let me see if I can. 1 second. Lower that for a moment. That is actually pretty based. Let me have a look here. I think someone. Right, maybe I'll not show that again because I don't think they're a public figure, but just in case. Let me just showcase real quick. This is from Rory Herbert. 1 second here. There's the flag Rory Herbert has. White Lives Matter. That is pretty based. My Indigenous Peoples Day flag. Yeah, that actually is pretty based. Yeah, excellent. Maybe I might as well just have a look at the PA website for this as well for Indigenous Peoples Day. And then once we've done that, we'll then have a look at the Vice article. The far right Indigenous Peoples Day have been infiltrated by the far right. Let me get this up here real quick, and then this first here. Right, 1 second here, .org, and then we'll find the Indigenous Peoples Day on the PA website. And something that also came into mind, I think at 7 o'clock, the PA Book Club will be live tonight, or it might be the PA Film Club, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see here. I believe so. It was one of the two. I do know that. 1 second here. Oops, wrong one. 1 second here. Maybe they'll post something about that later on. But anyway, let's have a look at this. Am I sharing the screen? I'm not. 1 second here. From the US. Thank you very much, Kingdom of Finland. Thank you very much for watching the show, and happy Indigenous Peoples Day to you too. Let me see here. Celebrate. Here we go. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day 2022. I'll also post a link in the chat again for people who haven't seen this page already. Let me just get this up here in a moment. And then we'll see from there. Let's see. Just taking a while to load up with that. That's fantastic. Okay, I hope it's not acting up when it comes to the connection, but if it is, I'll see if I can try and maybe get that sorted in a moment here, but we'll see. We'll see with that. Connection is unstable. Don't do this to me just now. We're almost towards the end of the show. Let me see here. Let's do the Vice article. Got that up here ready to go. That's fine. Yep, perfect. I think we're okay now. That should be all right. Can anyone still hear me all right? Again, I don't know if the connection is going awry or anything like that at all, but I hope not. I mean, I know we're coming towards the end of the show anyway, but I hope it doesn't end on a bad note when it comes to the connection issues or anything like that at all. But let me see. I think it all should be working here. I don't see people in the chat. Hold on a minute here. 1 second. Let me see if I can get the chat opened on. Oh, yeah, that's fine. People coming through. Right. I don't know what happened there, but that's fine. Thank you for letting me know, folks. I think it's all working fine now. Let me share the screen for the website. In fact, before I do that, I've posted it already. That's fine. No worries. So, yeah, I've got the link for the PA website, especially for the Indigenous Peoples Day. If people haven't checked it out already, there's a page there. So, a lot of. I actually like this one. Wait a minute. Let me see if we get up here in a moment. I don't think I've seen that one actually. Lansing, Sussex, southeast. That's pretty based. I like that, especially with the car. Let's see what lives matter with yeah. There was one from the BBC. Oh, yeah. White Lives Matter, BBC Scotland. That's pretty based. That's in Edinburgh. I like that. Yeah, from Manchester. Excellent stuff. Yeah, that's cool. Excellent. There's a lot of entries. In fact, so is there maybe something? I don't know if the polling might be available just yet. Hold on a minute here. I think that might be maybe later on or tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, there's videos here as well. But I think again, people might have seen those already. So okay, let's see here a minute. Let's see. Yeah, that's fine. Perfect. Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah. Again, a lot of people have turned out really great photographs and videos for this day, which is really good stuff. There's the one at George Square. That one I really like as well. I think that was from East Midlands. Yeah, the banner drop over the M1. That's also really good. That great stuff from those guys as well. Excellent, excellent. Right. So again, a lot of like great turnouts from everyone, especially from PA. When it comes to Indigenous Peoples Day. Of course, some of the detractors really did not like this. So this is where we'll get into the other side of it from Vice themselves. I think this is actually the first time I've covered a Vice article on the show. I don't think I've ever covered it before, but anyway, here's the Vice article in question. Far-right hijacks Global Indigenous Peoples Day with racist studs. Members of the far-right patriotic alternative group have displayed a White Lives Matter in front of a bust of Nelson Mandela in London as part of the campaign, which experts labelled abhorrent. Oh, abhorrent. How dare we do that? A British white nationalist group is attempting to hijack a day officially recognizing the struggles of the world's Indigenous Peoples Day, world's Indigenous people in order to push racist Great Replacement myths. I mean, it's not really a myth. I mean, people on the left have even talked about this as well. I keep forgetting this woman's name. Well, I mean, she's not really like a relevant type of person anyway. But some Indian woman who talks about there's no such thing as the Great Replacement. But then when she was talking about the demographic changes in Britain and like slowly but surely changing, she's like, "Yep, guys, we're winning." Who was that again? It was some. I always forget her name every single time. I mean, again, can people really blame me for that? But damn it! What was her name again? Maybe it might come up at some point. But Ash Sarkar, that's the name. Yeah, that's her name. You know, there's been multiple people talked about demographic changes, and of course, these would be the same people who always turn around and say, "Well, it's a conspiracy theory," but then completely contradict themselves. So this idea that it's a myth or conspiracy theory, again, they're just lying to the general public. Created by the United Nations in 1994, the International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples is observed on the 9th of August every year in an effort to acknowledge and defend the rights of Indigenous communities worldwide. But in recent years, the British far-right group Patriotic Alternative has tried to co-opt the occasion to push their bogus narrative that white Britons are being threatened by demographic replacement and stir up racial grievance. First off, we're not trying to stir up racial grievances. We're just pointing out that the white British people are the Indigenous people of these British islands, and obviously this will be a day for us. Not just Britain, of course. There's all kinds of European countries that are historically and culturally white countries, and those people are the Indigenous people of those lands. And it's just pointing that out. I don't understand why that we're not trying to stir up any racial grievances or anything like that at all, because we would say that about the Japanese being the Indigenous people of Japan, or Indians being the Indigenous people of India, so on and so forth. It's just stating a fact regarding to that. And of course, what was the other thing they mentioned as well about trying to hijack it? Well, we're not trying to hijack it. Again, it's just pointing out a fact regarding to Indigenous Peoples Day. This idea of we should learn from the Indigenous people, i.e., say non-white people, is just again pushing a narrative of trying to push a narrative of promoting anti-white bigotry or anti-white hatred towards white Europeans. That's what it all boils down to. What was the other thing I mentioned here with that as well? But in recent, I mentioned that as well with that, yeah. All the demographic replacements, of course, are supposedly being threatened. Well, the fact of the matter is, there's like more immigration that keeps, or more immigrants are being imported into Britain on a huge percentage with that. Can't remember exactly what the percentage of that would be, but they keep on coming into the country like day in and day out. And of course, this has all been predicted by, based on current trends, by, of course, Professor David Coleman. If the trends continue the way they are by 2060 or 2066, or maybe even sooner rather than later, then the white Britons will become a minority within Britain if the trends continue the way they are. And from what we've seen, more of these immigrants, regardless if they're legal or illegal immigrants, they keep on coming in. And it's only just going to get worse from there at that point. So yeah. Let me have a look and see what else is being written here with that. Where was I? I think it was, yeah. British far right co-opted. Oh yeah, of course. Its campaign includes a contest in which their supporters across the UK compete to carry out the most audacious, attention-grabbing stunt, with the winner awarded a cup called the White Lives Matter Trophy. Last year's prize went to the group's Scottish chapter, whose members climbed Scotland's highest mountain, Ben Nevis, to unfurl a huge White Lives Matter banner at the summit. Entries so far this year have included a large White Lives Matter banner being displayed in front of the bust of Nelson Mandela in central London's South Bank Centre, which, I mean, I have to say, that is pretty base. They actually did that. The protests also feature slogans like "We will not be replaced," an overt reference to the racist Great Replacement conspiracy theory, which underpins patriotic alternatives politics and falsely asserts that white Western populations are being deliberately replaced through mass migration. Well, I mean, it is. There's no other way around it. It clearly is. That is the case. I mean, why is it that we have? I think this was an article I talked about on the show before, but there was an article about some Indian or black scientists or whatever talked about the demographic changes, and then going on to say, like, well, it's a change that's inevitable and people need to accept it whether they like it or not. So this idea that it's supposed to be the whole great replacement conspiracy theory is just a myth. Well, tell that to the people who are actually talking about it and praising it, people that are mainly on your side, Vice. I actually would not be surprised at one point that Vice later on, or maybe they have already done this already, where they talk about the demographic changes and how, oh, this is a progressive and people need to accept it whether they like it or not. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised with that at this point. Really wouldn't be surprised with that. Let me see here. Tim Squirrel, head of communications at the Counter Extremism think tank, the Institution for Strategic Dialogue, told Vice World News that the group has first held the abhorrent quote-unquote campaign 3 years ago amid Black Lives Matter protests worldwide, seeking to stir up attention for their racist conspiracy theories. Their claim is that Indigenous British people are under threat, primarily from immigration, but also other things that are supposed to bring down the birth rate, he said. It's really grim given that the British in particular, but Western Europeans in general, colonized and expanded a year ago. So basically, we'll do professional here, expanded empires across much of the world and caused a massive amount of damage to Indigenous peoples worldwide. So basically, it's a case of, well, it's not happening, but here's a part of white history that, you know, this is what you've done to the white population. It's like, okay, what does that have to do? So they're basically saying, like, yeah, it's basically happening, but you lot deserve it because of the sins of the past, if you will. And it's like, fuck off. Let me see. It's pretty grim of them to try to appropriate the concept of being Indigenous to push a conspiracy theory grounded in ethno-nationalism. When contacted for a comment, Patriotic Alternative responded with an otherwise blank email that began with the words, "Dear anti-white media base." But posts on Patriotic Alternative's Telegram group described the event as an opportunity to raise awareness of the demographic replacement of the Indigenous British peoples and to encourage people to become more strident in a certain white nationalist beliefs. Demonstrations like this give people hope and can encourage them to be more confident in their own lives. Read one post. Once our people build up the confidence to stand up for their own communities, political change becomes inevitable. Founded in 2019, this is basically a basic history of PA. In February, founded in 2019, Patriotic Alternative, which has recently been involved in organizing protests against a drag queen story hour tour of children's libraries, has attempted to unite the desperate factions of the UK's far right behind its consistent White Lives Matter messaging. Let me see. They're really trying to be the one-stop shop for far-right activism, said Squirrel. The group was launched by veteran far-right. Here we go. It was founded by a former director of publicity, the BNP, Mark Collett. Here we go. Every single time. Despite the group's efforts to whitewash its virulently racist politics, its leading figures have been repeatedly exposed for their hardcore extremism. Like what? Last year, here we go. Collett, who has repeatedly recommended supporters read Adolf Hitler's Mein Kampf and was previously in a relationship with a woman with a large swastika tattoo. Again, did anyone see this comment? They mention this every single time. Every single time was revealed to have had links to the now banned neo-Nazi terror organization National Action. Source or any evidence for that, including having attended a combat training course with the group. On Tuesday, anti-racist group Hope Not Hate, what a surprise, which has exposed numerous links between Patriotic Alternative and National Action that they fought, reported that Sam Melia, Patriotic Alternative's Yorkshire regional organizer, had claimed on the Nazi website Daily Stormer that he had joined a local branch of National Action. Again, this has all been debunked multiple times. Sam Melia was not a member of NA or National Action. He just went to the protest in question, from what I remember, and please correct me if I'm wrong for saying this, but I believe it was like an anti-grooming protest. I think it was in Rotherham or Rochdale, or one of those places that were heavily affected by the grooming gang scandal. It was meant to be like an anti-grooming protest that Sam went to. It was a case of he went there and National Action were there as well. He wasn't a member or anything like that at all. So again, it's just all blatant fucking lies. Blatant lies by Vice in this case. Let me see. As well as a successor or an organization which would also be banned by the UK government. Again, do they actually provide any evidence? Like maybe like screenshots or like again, like here's a screenshot of what he actually said. Again, just showcasing more evidence that would be the case. Of course they don't. They never do showcase any evidence whatsoever. They never ever do that. Well then, I don't know if there's any more to the article. No, there's not. That's fine. Well, that's that. That's the Vice article, and of course, complete tools as they are. I mean, is anyone really that surprised when it comes to Vice or anything like that at all? So. But anyway, my throat's really parched. We'll see what's being said here in a moment. Hold on 1 second here. Maybe I'll check this out later on and then see from there. So, all right, cool. Okay, that's fine. That's off. Cool then. Time's it now? 6:48. Almost approaching towards the end of the show. I haven't seen anything from PA about, say, any book clubs and film clubs happening later on. That being Thursday, I think Wesley might be live at 7, if I'm not mistaken. He normally streams on a Thursday anyway, so that was a post from Rory I've seen earlier on. I just wanted to check and see if anything came up with any future streams later on this evening. I'm going to check some here. Oh, before we end stream, this was the one I was talking about trigonometry. Now, I don't know if this was a fairly recent video they were on, but Scott's Armor is live at 9 on John Davidson's channel. Horror shameless plug in case anyone's free. So fair enough, DJ. Thank you for pointing that out. I think he's normally John Davison streams on a Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, and then Scott Summer streams on a Sunday, again, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, but again, thank you for pointing that out, DJ. I'll see if I can post that later on in the chat. Let's see if I can find that video. Trigonometry. Let's see here. Because, I mean, this is really it's a 15-second long clip. It's not too long, but anyway, look at this up here in a moment. And we'll watch the video together. That way we can end the stream here with that. So let's have a look at this. So 3, 2, 1.
And Peter, you mentioned something about the German system collapsing. Now, I haven't heard anything about this.
But it does sound exciting.
Yeah, it does. You know, he's got a Jewish background, so he's thrilled. Yeah. But
there we go. But that sounds exciting. Oh, well, of course he would say that. He's got a Jewish background. Ooh. Yeah, I mean, these are the kinds of people that, I mean, we really shouldn't take them seriously. Anyway, I think I've talked about this on during the grooming gang scandal episodes. I think it was in part 2. He would have been the same guy who mentioned, oh well, white people can't get together and collectivize. Don't you remember what happened with World War II with the Germans? Yeah, it's a scumbag, absolute scumbag. They're a couple of LARPing scumbags, I would say. You know, claiming to be about like freedom and democracy and all of that. But really, when push comes to shove, they're just as bad as any typical SJW. They're basically no different than the left at this point. No different than the left or anything like that at all. Right then, folks, my throat's a little bit parched. I'm going to see if I can maybe get myself something to eat for dinner because I've not had anything to eat whatsoever. And that's going to be end of tonight's episode. So, like I said, from next week and onwards for Thursday's episodes, there will be on a bit later on. So maybe about 7, maybe 8, might be a bit later on. I'll keep you guys posted for updates. But Sunday's episode will still be the same. It will be 5 p.m. up until 7 as per usual. Oh, sorry, excuse me. The wee hat's at it again. That's true. So what else to maybe mention with that? Is there any more updates other than that? I think that's really it, basically, with that. So I hope everyone enjoyed today's episode, and I'll see you guys on Sunday with episode 97, I think it is. Last thing to mention, of course, is if you guys enjoyed the stream or if you enjoyed my show entirely, again, please remember that if you want to donate to me or support me financially, the links for both my Ko-fi page and my PayPal will be in the description down below of this stream. Again, please don't feel obligated. If you have to donate, if you want to donate, that's fine and grand. If you don't, that's completely fine with that. The option is there, which is why the links will be in the description down below. Either follow me on there if you want to, or again, like a little donation, that would be grand if you guys want to. And that will be it for that. I might do something different for episode 97 for Sunday's episode. Again, I'm not entirely too sure what that would be, but I'll come up with something with that, and then we'll see from there. Thank you, Chief Rooney. Thank you very much for watching the show, and Sally. And of course, thank you for everyone for watching the show. I'm going to see if I can get a outro song for today's episode. Oh, crap. Did not mean to do that. Wait a minute. Now, I wonder what song to maybe play us out with. I was thinking, I mean, I usually listen, well, it's not technically a song, but it's more like music in the background I kind of like. Let me see if I can find this and show you what I mean. That would be my likes, I think it would be, if I remember. Sorry, folks, just 1 second, if you can bear with me for a moment here. There we go. Thank you for watching, DJ. Thanks, Chief, and great chat as ever. Thank you very much, Streaky Bacon. Regasly. I don't know if I should play that song. I mean, it's a good song, don't get me wrong, but yeah, that might be pushing it, to be fair, but that might be pushing it. Kitchen Skiller, thank you very much for watching. Gamma Savage, thank you very much for watching the show. Right. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Yeah. Okay. So what I am going to play is is a teaser for MDE's World Peace. Now there is a reason why I'm going to play this. It's mainly because of the background song of the trailer. I really like it. So maybe I could find an extended version of that, but I'll just play this just for now. And of course, it's relatively short anyway. So yeah, that will be it for today's episode. If there's any streams tonight, as DJ pointed out, Scott's Armor will be appearing on John Davison's stream later on tonight at 9 p.m. If you would like to watch more streams, I think there might. Oh no, wait, that might be Sunday. I'm thinking about PA Film Club or Book Club. Today's Thursday. I keep thinking this is a Sunday today. I don't know why, but yeah, there will be other streams going on. So you have been troll meme song. Indeed, I have Gamma Sandwich. Indeed, I have. Cheers, all great show as usual, Chief Rudy. Thank you very much, Bill Athling. Going to walk the dogs now. It's too blooming hot. I know it's this heat wave has just been crazy, absolutely crazy. That's fine. Okay, perfect. All right. Well, that will be it. I do appreciate everyone coming along. I appreciate Joe coming on the show for a little bit, given his experiences with the Leeds protests. And yeah, that will be go to bed like me. God bless the Indigenous folk in the British Isles. Indeed, Linda Hunter. Indeed, thank you very much for that. And yeah, that will be the end of it. I'll see you guys on Sunday for episode 97. It's episode 97. Yeah, again 5 p.m. until 7. Any updates or anything like that at all, I'll keep you guys posted, and I'll even make an announcement prior to that. I might want to do something different, maybe have a guest on again. I'm not entirely too sure, but I'll keep you guys posted. But yeah, that will be it. So thank you very much for coming along. This has been Chief Moody signing out. You have been watching the Mood of the Nation podcast, and I will see you all in the next episode. Take care, stay safe, and enjoy the rest of your Thursday evening. Thank you, and good night. Take care.
One people, one planet. Can you see what I see?
When I was a kid, I was in a beauty pageant.
We are one people. We are one people.
Tell us about that.
In a social movement.
We are one people.
You know what the problem, you little pricks, is? You need to get your asses kicked.
You're gonna be famous. Friend requests from all the top celebrities.
Slots. That's the way an adult plays, is what I tell my son.
Hate is whack.
This building 7.
That's cool. Then we'll get there.